Hello, this video will go over how to copy lists on Bubble, going through the database setup, the workflows, and a potential second use case briefly. So the backend is as follows. Users have questionnaires. Each questionnaire has a list of questions, and each question has one answer. Just as an example, you could be a teacher, and you have to fill out evaluations for all your students every quarter. So therefore, kind of each student has one questionnaire and you have to fill it out, right? You have to fill out how well did they do in math, how well did they do in geography, how well did they do in reading, and then you have different answers for each student. So you want to do the whole process for lots of students or even lots of classes. So some questionnaires may also be similar. So therefore, you may want to have an easy way to copy over one questionnaire so you can then do exactly the same thing as you did with one student with another student to save time. Or to take kind of, as you may know, teachers are lazy, so they might want to just take the answers from one student and just modify only a few things for the second student. So how would you do this using Bubble? So we go over here. You might have one place to edit your one questionnaire for one student, and you have a button to copy the entire questionnaire. So you want to maybe name the second questionnaire, so maybe you could name it after the student, like you could name the new student could be John, and you click copy entire. And you also tell if Bubble if you want to make a copy of all answers too. So either you want to have completely blank answers for this new student, or perhaps you already want the same answer, so you just have to make a few modifications. So let's look at the workflows. In the first step, we just create a new questionnaire or FAQ with the title of the input. And then in the second step, we run an API workflow. Just a reminder, we go over to custom events and schedule API workflow. And what does this API workflow do? It runs now, and it takes the old FAQ, which we want to take, and where we want to copy all questions from that old FAQ to the new one, which we just created, and then of course save it perhaps to the user. And we also want to tell the API workflow whether to copy over all the answer content too or not. So we just have a yes, and in the step 3 we have a no, depending on if the checkbox was clicked. So we go over to backend workflows, which is over here, and it's called copy FAQ. So just again, what are we taking? The new FAQ, the old FAQ, the user, and whether to copy the answers to. So in the first step, we just set a slug. This is just the unique URL pointing to the new FAQ. We set it, and we save that newly created FAQ, which we created here in step 1. We save that to the user so they have it available. Okay, and now step 3 is copy a list of questions. This is just a workflow you can search and find here. And what do we want to copy? We want to copy all questions of this old FAQ. And then in step 4, we take the new FAQ, and all the questions which we've just copied will then be saved over to the new FAQ. So list of questions, set the list to take all of these copied over ones and put them here. So what we are doing here, if this wasn't clear, is we had rows 1 to 5 in the question database, and now we are copying exactly those questions, and now we have rows 6 to 10, and we're adding rows 6 to 10, which are exact copies of 1 to 5, over to the new questionnaire. And now we want to tell Bubble what to do with the answers, whether to copy over the answers to or not. Just a quick explanation of this process. So currently, when we copy one question, the answer field of each question, which points to a certain answer because each question has one answer, will also be copied over. So this means if the answer is changed for questionnaire 1, it's automatically changed for questionnaire 2 too. So this may be confusing because as a teacher, you don't want to, of course, make one change, and this happens to John and Joanna as an example. So to avoid confusion, it's probably best to create new answers in the database and save them to the new questions instead of having old answers and new questions together. Hope that makes sense. So we now run a new API workflow, this time on a list. So custom events, schedule API workflow on a list. Why on a list? Because each questionnaire has a list of questions. So we want to take this list of questions, the FAQ news list of questions, which we set over here in the previous step, and just now we want to take each question. So we go through the list question by question. So the API workflow will be lots of steps, which it will do for every question. First, it will do them for question 1, then for 2, then for 3. And we're just also passing on the FAQ because the questions and answers are saved to this, and whether to copy the answer content, yes or no. And it's the same for step 6, just again, the yes, no is passed on. So we only now need that here in copy answers. So again, we had defined that it expects questions, the new FAQ, and the answers to yes, no. And now we tell it to create new answers. In the first example where we want to copy the answer content, we go question by question. And remember, these newly created questions are still linked to the old answers. So we take the old answers file, and now the new answer we're creating copies the old file, so the new answer has the old answers file and image and link and text. So the answer is completely copied as a new answer. In the other step where we don't want to copy over the content, we just create a new answers with lots of empty fields. So then this teacher can easily enter things or add new files to this answer. Okay, and then in the next step, we now connect the question and answer because each question has an answer. So we now want to connect the question, so for example, question 1 with a newly created answer, because if we didn't do that, the new question would be connected to the old answer, which we don't want. But now the new question is connected over to the new answer, which is great. And then we just want to save all those answers which we created over to the new FAQ. And so it just does this process of creating a new answer for question 1, saving it to the new question 1, creating a new answer for question 2, saving it over for question 3, until it realizes, oh, I've gone through all questions and answers. And that's already our entire process. So now going through a potential second use case. So in this example, we just had one teacher who wants to copy their, for example, questionnaire over a few times. But in some apps, for example, like Notion, you want to maybe copy a template over from another user. So to do this, here we already used FAQ old and FAQ new, but we could also have user and we could have user new, right? And this could be type user. And so we do exactly the same thing, but instead of making changes to the current user, we would make changes to the new user. So we copy the FAQ or the questionnaire over from one user to the next user, and or maybe from one company to another company. So therefore, you can easily copy things from kind of one part of your database to another using this kind of API workflow, and within an API workflow to copy first a list, but then also a list over from user to user or company to company. Hope this helped. Have a good day. Cheers.